My financial advisor stole $890,000 from my retirement. I'm ex-FBI agent who got him 22 years. My financial advisor convinced me to move my entire retirement savings into his exclusive investment fund. Within 18 months, $890,000 was gone. He thought I was just another trusting elderly widow who wouldn't understand complex financial schemes. He forgot I spent 33 years as an FBI special agent investigating white-collar crime and financial fraud. I'm Catherine Hayes, 73 years old. This is the story of how my financial advisor ran a Ponzi scheme that stole from 47 elderly clients, and how I spent 2 years infiltrating his operation, gathering evidence, and sending him to federal prison for 22 years. My husband, Daniel, died in 2019 from a heart attack. We'd been married for 48 years. After he passed, I was lost, emotionally and financially. Daniel had always managed our money, investments, retirement accounts, everything. I'd focused on my FBI career while he handled our finances. When he died, I inherited everything. Our house was paid off. We had substantial retirement savings, $1.2 million across various accounts, Social Security, a pension from my FBI career. I was financially secure, but I didn't understand investments, stocks, bonds, portfolio management. That wasn't my expertise. My expertise was criminal investigation. I'd spent 33 years as an FBI special agent in the white-collar crime division. Bank fraud, securities fraud, embezzlement, money laundering. I knew how financial criminals operated, but knowing how criminals work and managing your own investments are different things. 6 months after Daniel died, I was still grieving and overwhelmed. I needed help managing the money Daniel had left me. A friend from my church, Margaret Pearson, recommended her financial advisor. Catherine, you should meet with Robert Caldwell. He's wonderful, very professional. He's been managing my retirement accounts for 5 years, and I've had excellent returns. He specializes in working with retirees and widows. Robert Caldwell owned Caldwell Financial Management, a boutique advisory firm in San Diego. His office was in a nice building downtown. Professional website, impressive credentials listed, certified financial planner, 20 years of experience. I met with Robert in October 2019. He was 52, well-dressed, articulate, reassuring. Mrs. Hayes, I'm so sorry for your loss. Losing a spouse is devastating, and suddenly having to manage finances you've never dealt with can feel overwhelming. That's where I can help. I specialize in working with widows and retirees, helping them preserve and grow their wealth so they can enjoy retirement without financial stress. Robert reviewed my accounts. You have excellent savings. $1.2 million is substantial, but your money is scattered across multiple accounts with minimal returns. I can consolidate everything into a diversified portfolio that will generate much better returns while protecting your principal. What kind of returns? My clients typically see 8 to 12% annual returns. Conservative, steady growth, nothing risky or speculative. I focus on capital preservation with reasonable growth. 8 to 12% sounded good, better than the 2 to 3% my savings accounts were earning. How does this work? I'd recommend consolidating your accounts into Caldwell managed portfolios, an exclusive fund I manage for my private clients, diversified investments, stocks, bonds, real estate trusts, international holdings, professional management, quarterly statements, complete transparency. What are your fees? 1% annually on assets under management. Very standard. And there's a performance fee if returns exceed 10% in any year. But my clients find the returns far exceed the fees. It sounded reasonable. Margaret had recommended him. He seemed professional and knowledgeable. I should have been more skeptical. I should have investigated him the way I'd investigated white-collar criminals for 3 decades. But I was grieving, lonely, overwhelmed. And Robert was kind, patient, reassuring. In November 2019, I transferred $890,000 from my various accounts into Caldwell-managed portfolios. I kept $310,000 in separate savings accounts for emergencies and living expenses. Some instinct told me not to put everything with Robert. Thank God I listened to that instinct. For the first 6 months, everything seemed fine. I received quarterly statements showing my portfolio growing. By May 2020, my statement showed my $890,000 had grown to $947,000. Excellent returns. I was relieved. Robert called quarterly to review performance and answer questions. Mrs. Hayes, your portfolio is performing beautifully. The diversification is working exactly as planned. You're well positioned for long-term growth. In September 2020, I wanted to withdraw $50,000 for home repairs. I called Robert. I'd like to withdraw $50,000 from my account for some home improvements. There was a pause. Of course, Mrs. Hayes. Let me process that. There will be a small early withdrawal penalty, about 2%. But I can have a check to you within 2 weeks. 2 weeks? Can't you transfer it electronically? The fund requires liquidating positions strategically to avoid impacting overall portfolio performance. It takes a few days to process, but I'll expedite it for you. A small warning bell went off in my mind. 2 weeks seemed excessive, but I wasn't an investment expert. Maybe that was normal. 15 days later, I received a check for $49,000. The $1,000 difference was explained as early withdrawal penalty and processing fees. The repairs were completed. I didn't think much more about it. Then COVID-19 hit hard in late 2020. The stock market dropped significantly. I was worried about my investments. I called Robert in December 2020. Robert, I'm concerned about the market volatility. How is my portfolio performing? Mrs. Hayes, don't worry. Your portfolio is insulated from most of the market turbulence. The diversification is protecting you. You're actually up 3% for the year, despite the pandemic. Very solid performance. Can you send me a detailed statement showing all my holdings? Another pause. Of course. I'll email you the quarterly report. The report arrived 2 days later. It showed my portfolio at $981,000, up 10% from my initial investment. Detailed list of holdings, various stock funds, bond funds, international investments. It looked legitimate, professional, detailed, but something felt wrong. That FBI instinct. 33 years of investigating financial fraud had taught me to recognize when something doesn't add up. If Robert's fund was so insulated from market volatility, how was he achieving 10% returns when the overall market was down? I started researching. I looked up several of the fund names listed on my statement. Some existed, some didn't. Some that existed showed different performance numbers than what Robert reported. The numbers weren't matching. I decided to test Robert. In January 2021, I called him. Robert, I'd like to withdraw $200,000. My daughter needs help with a down payment on a house. I don't have a daughter. I was lying to see his reaction. Robert hesitated. That's a substantial withdrawal. Are you sure that's wise? Liquidating that much could impact your long-term growth significantly. I understand, but family comes first. Can you process the withdrawal? Let me review your account and get back to you. A withdrawal that size requires some planning to minimize tax implications and portfolio disruption. How long will it take? Probably 3 to 4 weeks. 3 to 4 weeks to access my own money? That was wrong. Robert, why would it take that long? The fund holds various positions that need to be liquidated strategically. I have to consider tax efficiency, market timing, overall portfolio balance. Trust me, I'm protecting your interests. I didn't trust him. Not anymore. I hung up and immediately started investigating Robert Caldwell, the way I had investigated criminals during my FBI career. First, I verified his credentials. His certified financial planner designation was legitimate. His business license was current. But then I dug deeper. I checked FINRA records. Robert had 3 customer complaints filed against him over the past 8 years. All 3 were settled quietly with non-disclosure agreements. All 3 involved elderly clients claiming improper handling of funds. 3 complaints, 3 settlements, 3 NDAs to keep it quiet. Red flags everywhere. I checked his business registration. Caldwell Financial Management was registered, but Caldwell managed portfolios. The exclusive fund he'd put my money in wasn't registered as an investment fund with the SEC. That was illegal. Any investment fund managing money for multiple clients must be registered. Robert was running an unregistered investment fund. That alone was securities fraud. I contacted Margaret Pearson, the friend who'd recommended Robert. Margaret, how's your portfolio with Robert doing? Oh, wonderfully. I'm up almost 40% over 5 years. He's amazing. When was the last time you withdrew money? Withdrew? I haven't withdrawn anything. I'm letting it grow for retirement. Margaret, have you ever tried to withdraw money? No. Why would I? It's growing beautifully. Classic Ponzi scheme pattern. As long as no one tries to withdraw, the fraud continues. Robert was showing fake returns on statements, paying off any withdrawals with new investors' money, and pocketing the rest. I needed to confirm this, but I needed evidence that would hold up in court. I created a plan. I'd been an FBI special agent for 33 years. I knew how to investigate financial fraud. I knew how to gather evidence. I knew how to build a case, but I couldn't let Robert know I suspected anything. I called him back about my fake $200,000 withdrawal request. Robert, I talked to my daughter again. She's decided to wait on the house purchase, so I don't need that withdrawal after all. I could hear relief in his voice. Oh, excellent. That's really best for your long-term financial health. I'm glad she reconsidered. Robert didn't have my $200,000. If I'd insisted on the withdrawal, he wouldn't have been able to produce it. Over the next 6 months, I investigated Robert systematically. I contacted a forensic accountant, James Chen, who'd worked with the FBI on financial fraud cases. James, I need your help investigating a potential Ponzi scheme, but I can't let the suspect know he's being investigated. James reviewed my statements. Catherine, these statements are fake. The fund names, the holdings, the returns, it's all fabricated. This is definitely fraud. I hired a private investigator to surveil Robert. We documented his lifestyle, expensive cars, luxury vacations, a second home in Palm Springs. His business income couldn't support that lifestyle unless he was stealing from clients. I contacted the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, and reported Robert for operating an unregistered investment fund. They opened an investigation. I reached out to other clients through public records. I found 17 other elderly clients who had money with Robert. I contacted each one discreetly. Hi, I'm a client of Robert Caldwell's. I'm doing some due diligence on my investments. Have you ever tried to withdraw funds from Caldwell-managed portfolios? Most hadn't tried, but 3 had. All 3 experienced significant delays and fees. One woman had tried to withdraw $100,000 and received only $82,000 after processing, fees, and penalties. Another client, Thomas Wright, had tried to withdraw his entire account, $340,000. Robert had delayed for 3 months, then told Thomas the account had experienced losses and was only worth $280,000 now. Classic Ponzi scheme behavior: discourage withdrawals, delay when forced, pay less than promised. I documented everything: statements, withdrawal delays, fee discrepancies, client testimonies. Then I did something Robert didn't expect. I went undercover. I recruited 2 FBI colleagues, both retired like me, to pose as wealthy potential clients. Robert, my friends Linda and Tom are looking for a financial advisor. I've been so happy with your services. Would you be willing to meet with them? Robert eagerly agreed. New money was oxygen to his Ponzi scheme. Linda and Tom, both retired FBI agents, met with Robert in August 2021. They wore wires. Every conversation was recorded. Robert gave them the same pitch he'd given me. Exclusive fund, 8 to 12% returns, conservative, diversified, perfect for retirees. How many clients do you have in this fund? Linda asked. About 50. It's very selective. I only take clients I feel I can truly help. And the fund is registered with the SEC? Robert hesitated. It's a private fund. We're not required to register. That was a lie. The SEC requires registration for funds with more than 15 clients. Tom asked pointed questions. Can we see the fund's audited financial statements? We don't do external audits. I provide detailed quarterly reports to all clients. Another lie. Legitimate investment funds are audited by independent accountants. Linda and Tom told Robert they'd think about it. They left with hours of recorded conversations proving Robert was operating an illegal, unregistered investment fund and lying to potential clients. By September 2021, I had overwhelming evidence. Robert was operating an unregistered investment fund illegal. He was fabricating statements showing fake returns. He was delaying withdrawals and imposing fraudulent fees. He couldn't produce client funds when requested. He was lying about audits, registrations, and fund operations. His lifestyle far exceeded his legitimate business income. I presented everything to the FBI San Diego field office and the SEC. I'm Catherine Hayes, retired special agent. I was assigned to white-collar crime for 33 years. I believe I am a victim of a Ponzi scheme, and I've spent the past 9 months gathering evidence. The FBI agent reviewing my evidence was stunned. Mrs. Hayes, this is the most thorough victim investigation I've ever seen. You've built a complete case. I know how to investigate financial fraud. Now I need you to arrest him before he destroys evidence or flees. The FBI and SEC coordinated. They obtained warrants for Robert's business records, computers, bank accounts. On October 14th, 2021, FBI agents raided Caldwell Financial Management. Robert was arrested at his office. The look on his face when agents walked in was priceless. Agents seized computers, files, records. They froze all of Robert's accounts. The investigation revealed the full scope of Robert's fraud. 47 clients had invested money in Caldwell-managed portfolios. Total invested $23.7 million actual assets in the fund, $2.1 million missing, $21.6 million. Robert had stolen $21.6 million from 47 elderly clients over 6 years. Where did the money go? $7.3 million spent on Robert's personal lifestyle. Cars, homes, vacations, gambling. $9.1 million paid out to earlier investors. Classic Ponzi scheme. $5.2 million transferred offshore to accounts in the Cayman Islands. Robert was running a textbook Ponzi scheme, taking money from new investors, using it to pay fake returns to earlier investors, and pocketing the rest. My $890,000 was gone, spent, transferred, vanished. The federal prosecution was swift. Robert was charged with wire fraud, 47 counts, securities fraud, 47 counts, money laundering, 23 counts, operating an unregistered investment fund, theft from elderly victims. He faced up to 220 years in federal prison. Robert's attorney tried to negotiate a plea deal. Mr. Caldwell will plead guilty to wire fraud and make restitution. The prosecutor refused. Your client stole $21.6 million from elderly victims, many of whom lost their life savings. We're proceeding to trial. The trial began in March 2022. I was the star witness, not just as a victim, but as an expert. The prosecutor asked, Mrs. Hayes, you spent 33 years as an FBI special agent specializing in financial fraud. When did you realize Mr. Caldwell was running a Ponzi scheme? I became suspicious in January 2021 when he couldn't produce a withdrawal quickly. I'd investigated enough Ponzi schemes to recognize the pattern. Fake returns, withdrawal delays, unregistered funds. So I launched my own investigation. You investigated him? Yes. For 9 months, I documented the fraud, contacted other victims, conducted surveillance, even sent in undercover agents to record his pitches. I built the case against him. The courtroom was silent. Even the judge looked impressed. Mrs. Hayes, why didn't you just report your suspicions immediately? Because suspicions aren't convictions. I needed evidence, documented, irrefutable evidence that would hold up in federal court. I spent 3 decades investigating financial criminals. I know what prosecutors need to win cases, so I gathered it. The prosecution presented my evidence. Recordings of Robert lying to potential clients, fake statements showing fabricated returns, bank records proving Robert spent client funds on personal expenses, testimony from 47 victims, expert analysis proving the fund was a Ponzi scheme. Offshore account records showing hidden money. Robert's defense tried to claim he'd made investment mistakes and accounting errors. The prosecutor destroyed that defense. Mr. Caldwell, you spent $7.3 million of client funds on personal expenses. You bought a $650,000 home, a $140,000 car. You gambled $380,000 in Las Vegas. Those aren't investment mistakes. That's theft. Robert had no answer. The jury deliberated for 6 hours, guilty, on all 117 counts. Robert collapsed. His wife ran from the courtroom crying. Sentencing was in June 2022. Victim impact statements were devastating. Elderly clients who'd lost everything. Life savings gone. Retirement destroyed. Some victims had died before the trial. The stress of losing their money contributed to their deaths. One widow, Patricia Morrison, testified, "I'm 81 years old. Robert stole $430,000. Everything my husband and I saved over 40 years. I can't afford my medications. I had to sell my home. I'm living with my daughter now, completely dependent. Robert destroyed my life." The judge was furious. "Mr. Caldwell, you operated a cruel, calculated scheme targeting the most vulnerable people in our society. Elderly retirees who trusted you with their life savings. You lied to them. You stole from them. You destroyed their retirement security. You showed no remorse. You attempted to hide money offshore. Your crimes are unconscionable. I'm sentencing you to 22 years in federal prison. You will also pay full restitution, $21.6 million to your victims. Your assets are forfeited. You're banned from the financial industry for life." Robert was 63 when sentenced. He'll be 85 when released, if he survives federal prison. But sentencing wasn't the end. The FBI located $5.2 million in Robert's offshore accounts. Those funds were seized and distributed to victims. Robert's homes, cars, and other assets were sold. Another $2.8 million recovered. Total recovered. $8 million of the $21.6 million stolen. That left $13.6 million unrecovered. Robert had spent it or hidden it too well. The $8 million was distributed proportionally to victims. I received $327,000, about 37% of my stolen $890,000. Better than nothing, but I'd still lost $563,000. However, I also filed a civil lawsuit against Robert's business insurance and his professional liability insurance for financial advisors. After 2 years of legal battles, I won a settlement, $480,000. Combined with the criminal restitution, I recovered $807,000 of my $890,000. I lost $83,000 total, plus 2 years of investment returns I should have earned, but I'm financially stable. I still have the $310,000 I kept in separate accounts, plus my FBI pension and Social Security. I'm okay. Many other victims weren't as fortunate. Patricia Morrison, the 81-year-old widow, received only $159,000 of her $430,000. She'll never recover financially. Thomas Wright received $118,000 of his $340,000. He had to postpone retirement and go back to work at 70. Robert destroyed lives. After the trial, I became an advocate. I started speaking at senior centers about financial fraud. I'm a retired FBI agent who investigated financial fraud for 33 years, and I still fell victim to a Ponzi scheme. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. Here's what you need to know. I teach elderly people warning signs, promises of unusually high returns, pressure to invest quickly, difficulty withdrawing funds, lack of independent audits, unregistered investments, complex or secretive strategies. I also work with the FBI's San Diego office as a volunteer consultant, helping train agents on investigating financial fraud targeting seniors. Robert is currently 3 years into his 22-year sentence. He's incarcerated at Federal Correctional Institution Victorville in California. He'll be behind bars until 2044. He'll be 85 years old. His wife divorced him. His children won't speak to him. His reputation is destroyed. And he's probably in danger in federal prison. White-collar criminals who steal from elderly victims aren't treated well by other inmates. I'm 73 years old now. I lost $890,000 to a financial advisor I trusted, but I also spent 9 months investigating him, documenting his crimes, and building the case that sent him to prison for 22 years. Robert thought I was just another trusting elderly widow who wouldn't understand what he was doing. He forgot I spent 33 years as an FBI special agent, investigating white-collar criminals exactly like him. I knew what he was doing. I knew how to prove it, and I knew how to destroy him. Some people ask, why did you fall for it if you're an expert on financial fraud? Because expertise doesn't make you immune to emotional manipulation. I was grieving, lonely, overwhelmed. Robert exploited that vulnerability, but once I recognized what was happening, I knew exactly what to do. I investigated. I documented. I built a case. I sent him to prison. That's what FBI agents do. Even retired ones. Robert stole from 47 elderly victims. He thought he was clever enough to avoid getting caught, but one of his victims spent 3 decades catching people exactly like him. I'm Catherine Hayes. I'm 73 years old. My financial advisor stole $890,000 from my retirement in a $21.6 million Ponzi scheme. I spent 9 months investigating him, gathered overwhelming evidence, coordinated with the FBI and SEC, and sent him to federal prison for 22 years. He thought elderly widows are easy targets who won't fight back. He forgot that some elderly widows are retired FBI agents who know exactly how to investigate financial fraud and build cases that send criminals to prison for decades. Robert wanted my money. I gave him 22 years in federal prison instead. That's not revenge. That's justice. And after 33 years investigating financial criminals, I knew exactly how to deliver it. The end. Subscribe for financial justice.